Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and any transgenders watching our live chat show Being Social. As I always say, in Being Social, I try and bring inspiring minds and personalities before you, and we discussed heart to heart with them in a very informal manner about what they have been doing, what are their learnings, and what people can know from them, and what they knew from people, and what are their messages to the different areas. So this morning for Sushma, and this evening for us, Sushma Rajagopalan. She's our guest in Being Social. Sushma lives in Philadelphia suburb in the United States, and I guess he must be a US citizen now. That's how she lives there. And originally from India. So, from an Indian citizen, she has become a US citizen. A long journey. So, we would like to understand her education part, and then how she has been doing her career and life in the US. So, with that introduction, let me also add that she has been a global lead in the IT system. She has been the CEO of several IT companies. She has also been doing a lot of mentoring, and currently she's working on advising people on making a second career, and a venture capitalist, supporting women also, and many more things. So we'll hear from her. Sushma ji, please tell us about yourself on in the light of your early education, and what you have been doing in the US.
Thank you very much, Uday, for having me on your show, and a very warm greeting to all the listeners, both in India and from over the world. So, good evening and good morning to all. So, Uday, I come from a family that prides itself on education and the core benefits of education. Okay? So I remember my father would always say that the best thing that I can give you is the best education you can have, and after that you're on your own, right? And that's sort of the environment in which I grew up, and both my parents, especially my mother, instilled very early in my childhood that I could do whatever I wanted to do. She would say, don't set limits for yourself. And I clung to her words. And she was one, and very well supported by my father. And later on, my brothers, I have two older brothers, who gave me the confidence, the freedom. Okay. At the time when I was growing up, there was still a lot of constraints on women. But I had the freedom to choose and the freedom to, um, in a very trusted environment, experiment. And later on, I got very lucky that even after I got married, whether it was my in-laws or my husband is still a very staunch supporter of everything that I do. The fact that they said, do what you think, where you can create impact in this world. And I have done it to a very small extent, and I will continue to do it. My education spans, started in Kolkata, then Chennai, Madras at that point in time, Bombay, and then continued when I came to the United States, where I had the opportunity not only to study further, but also to teach. So my education spans some really good institutions across India and the United States. And today, I continue to educate myself. Every year, I do at least one or two courses, some from some of the best institutions in the world. Online and technology has made education pervasive and easily accessible to people at an economical rate. And I take full advantage of that. So that's me in a nutshell, Uday, from an education background.
Thank you, Sushma, for that telling us about your educational background. And you, as your father rightly said, those who educate their children well, they don't have to worry about them, because education is one thing that takes you to places, and it helps you understand the world and live with the world and continue with your career and further. That's very nice of him, and having been in the family with value system that you have been talking about is, yes, it used to be one of the core competence of the Indian society. And we don't know how much it is relevant with the gen Gen Z and the Gen Beta and whatnot. Um, Anyways, the culture is always progressing, and there is a fusion of culture always. So nothing strange about it. So Sushma, when in your career side, could you tell us about your experiences in your career?
Sure. I started my career in Mumbai with an organization called CMC, which is now part of TCS. And it was a public sector organization. I started my career in HR, but I really did a lot more than HR. This was at the time when, this was mid 80s, when computerization and software particularly was becoming popular. And I had the opportunity to work with very large public sector companies like leading bank, leading port trust. These were all people who were thinking about how to bring in and how to usher in computerization and software, and how to find the people for it. Right? I mean, at that time, people had to be trained to become software experts. So my software sales team would actually take me to these meetings, though I was in HR. Since this pertained to human development, they would take me. And I started consulting with these organizations. We started developing tests and aptitude tests. So I had a very unusual start to my career, because I was put as the head of HR for the Western region of CMC. Okay. And I used to report to the general manager of the region. So I started getting a business flavor right very early in my life. And one of my biggest learnings was that HR as a function needs to be very ingrained with the business of an organization. Okay. And it is a lead function. So armed with that, I went next to Citibank. And in those days, Citibank was a very revered organization. Okay. And I got to work with some of the best minds. And I would credit a lot of my business sense, which originated in CMC, polished in Citibank. And then I moved to the United States, and I was very lucky to meet Mr. Sunil Wadhwani and Ashok Trivedi. And they had at that time started a company called Mastech, which became iGate. And it's I never in my wildest dreams thought that I could actually, have a spectacular career. The company went public. I was part of the executive, I was an officer of the company. And, I did very well in terms of the proverbial American dream of seeing an IPO, of being part of an IPO. And I was still very young at that time. And then it was through Mastech that alongside working, I went to Carnegie Mellon and I did an MBA, part-time 3-year program in strategy and entrepreneurship. And I would say that the bug of entrepreneurship had bitten me at that time. Okay. But like anyone else, you migrate to a new country, you want to make sure that you're economically well set and you drive your career trajectory in a sort of a safe manner. And I did that. But within that, I got tremendous amount of opportunities. Sunil and Ashok gave me an opportunity to run an organization, which I merged with another company and then sold the company. And then the second thing happened. I started understanding the world of growing companies organically and inorganically. So I had the bug of entrepreneurship, then I had the practical experience of growing companies, both organically and inorganically. And then I started my own company where I consulted with a lot of IT services firms, like L&T, for instance, that L&T, Satyam. And very fortunate that companies like L&T, Mr. Ray Nayak, who I respect, and Mr. Davis Tali, who is no more, they brought me in as their head of strategy for the technology and engineering services. And I would say it was one of my best turns. I understood what it was to be a chief strategy officer. And I said my calling in life was to be a chief strategy officer, but then to eventually become a CEO. And after 7 years, I left and I joined a small company. And Mr. Nayak said, Sushma, why are you leaving? And I said, I've had the best time here, but I want to become a CEO and I want to become a CEO soon. So I joined a small company called Liquid Hub in Philadelphia, and helped them grow their India footprint. Was instrumental in bringing in a strategic investor. And at that time, I was picked up by ITC to lead ITC Infotech, which I did as the CEO from 2014 to 2019, and grew the company to about $300 million organically in about 4.5 years' time, and managing global operations across 15 countries at that point in time. And then I left ITC Infotech in 2019. I had moved back to India for that from 2014 to 2019. I decided to come back to the United States in 2019 again. And at that time, I had offers to go run other technology services firms, but I felt that I should try something completely different, and I pivoted to being a venture capitalist. So I am a partner in a boutique venture capital firm called Rittenhouse Ventures, which is based in Philadelphia. We are a technology enterprise B2B SaaS investor. And a year and a half ago, I also co-founded a company called Second Careers with a classmate of mine and a dear friend of mine called Shanti Naresh. And she used to be a partner in Mercer, and we were both at Tata Institute of Social Sciences together. The whole idea and premise of Second Careers is as follows. With the advent of technology and AI in particular, jobs are getting redefined, and there is a huge tectonic shift in the kind of displacement of people. So people at the early stages are getting displaced, people over 40, 45 are getting displaced. And we felt that we should focus on the underrepresented lots of talent pools, that 45 plus. Increasingly, you find people working till they are 70, 75. Why should people have to retire when they are 56 or 58 or 60? We are all about trying to extend, pivot, and restart careers of people and helping people follow what we call a portfolio approach to career. When you're 45, 50, you have some reasonable savings. You get to you get to think about what else should I be doing in life. So if you look at my portfolio, yes, I'm a venture capitalist. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur. And yes, I like to mentor and build women entrepreneurs. So I am a mentor with Harvard iLabs. I'm a mentor with various different organizations. And in the last 2 years, I have also been championing this through an organization, global organization seated in India called TIE, which is all about very successful entrepreneurs helping other entrepreneurs. So that's been my journey in a nutshell, Uday.
Thank you, Sushma. One of your traits is of being transformational person in the companies. So how does that work?
So I am somebody who questions status quo. Okay. See, one of the biggest failings in any company, be it small or big, people get complacent. What has worked for me will work in the future. But in an environment where technology is disrupting things dramatically, that mindset is going to impede growth. So I have always been someone coming in and saying, questioning. But questioning does not mean that you throw the baby with the bathwater. Okay? Questioning does not mean you transform for the sake of transforming. Transformation is often a function of understanding your core competencies and, more importantly, understanding what the market wants. Now, everybody understands this, but very few leaders have that ability to take the right calls, because transformations are never easy. Because you're growing a business, it's like changing the course of a moving vehicle while it is moving. And there are trade-offs that you have to make. Okay? So I am someone who's constantly thinking, what should an organization be 5 years out? In today's world, if you can think 5 years, that's fantastic. But you need to be nimble, and you need to be able to say, what has worked for you in the past? Will it work for you in the future? If it doesn't, what do you need to do? Right? And this is one of my hallmarks of a leader, as a leader. And which is why I like entrepreneurial and younger startups, because the pace of innovation in a smaller organization is way higher. Your ability to experiment, your ability to try something and say, well, I tried it, it didn't work, let me move on to something else to make this better. And to kind of ingrain this within the culture of an organization. Now, there are some very large organizations who do this very successfully, but by and large, that entrepreneurial mindset is what draws me um, to reinventing companies, and you call it, as you call it, transformative.
Yes, in our financial management, in hardcore finance, we also value the PVGO factor of the company, the present value of future growth. So growth is, of course, one thing, and the quality and competitiveness also comes along. So yes, transformational approaches will have various dimensions. I am trying to understand. You said you prefer to work now more with startups, but startups have marketing issues, I guess, because they have to compete with the established existing corporates. So how does that work for them in
See,
your
so yes, of course. See, competition is there everywhere, okay? But a startup, when I say startup, I mean, it doesn't have to, I mean, I've worked with the whole spectrum. Um, I'm talking small companies. I work with seed stage companies. I work with entrepreneurs who are still formulating their ideas, to all the way to 100, 200, $300 million companies. The, the sharpness with which they have to define themselves. How does a startup form? A startup forms basically to address a need which hasn't been addressed by anybody else, or it's been addressed by very few people, right? So, right from the beginning, a startup picks those areas of unmet need. And that is the foundation of entrepreneurship. And when you pick unmet needs, right, a couple of things will happen. Your solution now becomes visible to some of the larger companies. And they say, wow, I didn't think of it, but these guys have. Let me go buy them. Right? So the whole cycle of creation and exit. And as a venture capitalist, you're always looking for, because you're managing other people's money. So you have to give them a return. So you have to be very clear about why you're investing. What kind of return can this company give? How will I pay back my limited partners? So these things just become second nature.
Let's change the dimension a bit, Sushma. There are a lot of
Yeah.
youngsters from around the world, especially from South Asia, China, Far East, Africa, Latin America. They come to US with their ambition of making it big in the US, and of course, times are changing now. The US is not as receptive to the immigrants as they used to be earlier. So, what is your advice to the people trying to pursue their dreams, getting out of their country, and let's say trying to make it big in the US or Canada or even Europe?
Let me rephrase the question to say, how should youngsters today look at their careers? Okay, regardless of where they are, because I think opportunities are rampant everywhere. Okay, opportunities are rampant globally, in India, in the US, across the world. So I don't think it is any longer, geographically bound. The advice that I would give youngsters today is, number one, start applying what they are studying theoretically in practical terms. Okay, I think that application mindset, saying whether you're studying economics, whether you're studying physics, whether you're becoming a doctor, right? Regardless of the line that you are pursuing, you have to ask yourself a couple of questions. What are some of the interdisciplinary approaches I can follow in solving problems? Okay, it's a very macro question. There was a time 50 years ago, we studied economics, we studied biology. You became a doctor, you became a scientist, you became an accountant, you became a lawyer. But today, the career choices that are available to youngsters is huge. So approach an interdisciplinary approach. Second, if you can become a specialist in something, the world of tomorrow is about specialism. Okay? Interdisciplinary specialism, saying, I'm no longer just a doctor, but I'm a doctor who understands the electrical functioning of a brain. Okay? And from there comes solutions that we have not thought about, whether it is in the field of medicine, whether it's in the field of business. Okay, so interdisciplinary, second is specialism, and third, I would say experiment, try different things. You don't need to know what your end state is going to be today. You should think that your end state of what you might be doing 40 years from now might be completely different from where you have started. But then where you have started gives you a lot of basics and fundamentals. And those fundamentals have to be very clear. So I am a first principles person. You have to get to the core fundamentals of whatever you learn. The fourth, take chances, take risks. Don't be afraid of risks. Let it be calculated risks. And fifth, surround yourself with people from whom you can learn. By that, what I mean is not doing what other people tell you to do, but having on tap. And this is where mentors come in. Form your own mentors. Go out, be curious as to how other people have done things. Don't copy, but let that intrigue you. I personally think I wish I were one of those Gen Zs or Gen Beta that you talked about, because I think the next 40, 50 years, the kind of unprecedented things that we will see. I mean, I think my generation has been very lucky that we have seen everything from, you know, the whole softwareization. We got to see how phones were reinvented, to digital media, now artificial intelligence, and now autonomous vehicle. I think we've seen a huge shift in terms of how life, largely fueled by technology, has changed. And I think the next 30, 40 years could bring much more unprecedented things. Okay. And I think that's the opportunity that lies in front of these young people. But let me not just leave it as young people, let me also talk about the older lot, the 45 plus. I don't think I feel that this lot of people, and that's what Second Careers is all about, have so much to offer. They have real life experience. They have in-depth 25, 30 years of experience in business processes. They understand how things had been done and have the unique capability to help shape what some of these will be based and rooted in their domain capabilities, with the use of the right talent, with the use of the right technologies. And you are in a position where employment models are changing. Employment models will move from full-time employment to fractional roles. There will be specialists who will be brought in for periods of time, and people will adopt a portfolio life. And that portfolio life can start when you are very early in life as well. So these are my thoughts, Uday.
Thank you, Sushma. They are very comprehensive thoughts and coming out of a very small question. And in fact, that was supposed to be my next two questions about your suggestions to the youngsters and the people looking who fit enough for making a second career. The third dimension, about how about women? I read somewhere that you have that uh, softer part of your heart towards women, and you try and support them through venture capital also.
Yeah. So my first love is entrepreneurs, okay, and entrepreneurship. But within that, I help men as well, so don't get me wrong. But I'm very passionate about women entrepreneurs because I think entrepreneurship is a leveler for women. Okay, um, a lot of women, they reach a certain ceiling in larger organizations. And I'm not questioning whether that's right or wrong, but I am basically driven by the fact that women are multitaskers. Women have the ability to learn. They are empathetic. They are astute business people. Okay? And I believe that there is still a lot that can be done world over, okay, for bringing out and shaping women from helping them shape their business ideas, helping them from a funding standpoint. Yes, funding for women has increased, but it is still not as high as it should be. Okay? So I am working with organizations like TIE that are committed to entrepreneurship, okay, in a very practical way. So at TIE, what we have done is for the last 6 years, we run a TIE pitch competition. Now, this pitch competition competition. This year we had contestants from 46 locations and I think more than 25 countries. Okay, and we had in Jaipur in January 3rd to 6th, we had along with the Thai Global Summit, and Smriti Irani was there for this event. We had 44 contestants, and I tell you, the quality of ideas was superlative, and it impacted. From Philadelphia, we had an organic perfume maker who made it to the finals. She was among 6 finalists from 44. We had a lady from New Jersey who won the second runner-up, okay, who had a medical intervention. We had a lady from Atlanta who has, a very successful model in providing temporary workers to, hospitality industry. Okay? The winner was somebody who had done material substitution from Singapore. So the quality of ideas and the quality and the credentials of the women was so impressive. But there is still a funding gap. Okay? And I'm extremely passionate about bridging that funding gap. And the way to bridge this funding gap is to do it systematically. Individual check writing, of course, it all starts with individual check writing, but individual check writing only gets you to a certain stage. So you need to have funding platforms. And the love for doing this, I'm at some point soon, I will do it through second careers as well, where a lot of the people have entrepreneurial talent. The 45 plus category has the ability to say, hey, I now can take a chance. I became an entrepreneur way late in life. If I can help people do that earlier and make them successful, and particularly women. So my portfolio of things that I do, yes, I will always do something to earn money. I'll sit on boards, I'll be a venture capitalist, because I'm very passionate about that. I have started my own company. I will be a very active mentor. And I will also bridge the funding gap to support women entrepreneurs. So that's sort of going to be my portfolio of, and retirement is not in my dictionary. So.
Sushma, you talked about getting beautiful and new ideas. Now you are also into artificial intelligence. So, in the artificial intelligence era, do you think that ideas will be fewer to come up because everybody making use of artificial intelligence tools and in the business processes, in the internal controls, in every span of procedures and life. So, what is the flip side of artificial intelligence in terms of losing opportunity of better ideas in future?
Excellent question. But it all comes down to the perspective. What is artificial intelligence? How is it any different from 10 years ago? We all talked digital. Okay. The life is across two axes. One is your human intelligence, your human capability. That continues. And the other spectrum is quote unquote artificial intelligence, which is an application of mechanisms, the algorithms, formulas that hasten the speed at which you can process many different ideas at the same time. Okay. So if you think of artificial intelligence as fundamentally the use of computing power to do things much, much, much faster and much, much more intelligently, and the ability to process and distill information at a fraction of a second. Okay. So as a venture capitalist, one of the things we would do when we were looking at companies is we would go in and check how many other companies are there in the space. It would take me, maybe a week to do that. Today, I can do it in 20 minutes. Okay. Does that mean that I am yielding the decision of whether to invest in a company or not to artificial intelligence? Absolutely not. I'm still using my brain power to say, why does this make sense for me? Why this particular deal? Why not 20 other deals? What has been my personal past experience? You're not supplanting any of that. Okay. So I come from the school of thought that you can be AI aided, but you have to be human controlled in anything that you do. And if you look at it like that, then you will apply AI in the right situations. What are companies today struggling with? Where should I apply AI? Where should I apply it for my maximum benefit? Where should I apply it for the maximum good for the world, for the people, right? Now, of course, there'll always be some errant person who uses it nefariously, but that's true of any technology. And it's not a failing of the technology. At the end of the day, it comes down to how you as human beings control it, use it with clarity.
Okay, that's well said. Sushma, let me be a bit personal with you now. Do you have hobbies? If you have, what are your hobbies?
So my hobbies, as a child, I used to write poems. I was a prolific writer. I used to love writing little pieces. Now, as I've gotten older, that has somehow slipped away. But, in 2024, I rekindled it again and wrote a chapter in a book that was published in India called Nari Shakti, okay, Women Power. And I had talked about some of these concepts. The second love for me is fitness and wellness. So I'm a big yoga buff, yoga and walking. I'm a very outdoorsy person, okay? I like to be with nature. So across the street from where I live, I have an arboretum. An arboretum is like a mini garden, and I volunteer my time there because it sort of keeps me in one with nature, right? And my last hobby is actually turned into, what I do professionally, is my love for entrepreneurship and women entrepreneurs.
Sushma, we have been talking non-stop for quite some time now. It's time for a segment which I call a reflex response. I will not give you time to respond.
Sure.
You just have to respond in one or two words only. Of course,
Spontaneity. Sure.
some of them are already answered. So the first question is, what is more important for a profession, for a business, artificial intelligence or human beings?
I would say neither. Clarity. You need to be extremely clear. What is it you are in business for? What do you want to do it? How do you want to do it? The rest falls. So clarity above everything else.
The next one is that which one you like more, HR or IT?
Neither. I like business in its
Uh,
entirety.
Okay. Now the next one, of course, the answer we know it's obvious. So, what is your preferred country, India or the US?
I like the best of both worlds. I like both.
That's why I told you.
I'm a global citizen.
And finally, what is more satisfying to you, being a CEO or being a mentor?
Tough one. I like both.
Okay.
I like both.
So
I
what?
think I can be a better mentor if I am less so a CEO these days, more so an entrepreneur. So, but in the long run, I would say I would choose mentor.
Thank you. So with that, Sushma, we come to an end. And before we end, do you have any message to the people in general? I mean,
Times are exciting. There are going to be a lot that we don't know. Keep an open mind and capitalize. Capitalize on the opportunity. Don't let anything quell you down.
thank you. That's very precisely and well said. And thank you very much for sparing your time in this snowstorm in the US East Coast and missing your delaying your breakfast. We apologize for that. And viewers, we apologize for the initial technical glitch. We will try and remove that. We don't know why it happened, but it happened. It happens sometimes. So life is not perfect. So technology is also not perfect. And so we had the initial hiccups and problems in our presentation today. Thank you, Sushma, and wish you all the best. And hope to see you sometime in the US or in India or elsewhere. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Uday.
Thank you. Signing off.